Good evening, good morning, or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And thank you for joining us today in this unique storytelling session about longevity and AI. Our session today is moderated by the amazing Chris Underhill, who wears multiple hats in the movement, but for today is the CEO and co-founder of the Elders Council for Social Entrepreneurs. Along with the session is hosted by our great speakers, Ricardo and Sonia Gill, who also lead the 50+ chapter at Catalyst now and are championing a new mindset on aging and longevity. But before we start, I would like to share a short video to welcome you all into the third day of our Catalyzing Change Week and into today's session.
An estimate by the IMF states that AI can raise the world economic growth up to 0.8% or contribute approximately $15.7 trillion by 2030 to the global economy. On the flip side, over 30 million jobs may need to be reconsidered over the next 5 years. Across the sessions, you will hear from technologies pushing the boundaries of what it is possible, entrepreneurs and educators rethinking the future of work, and faith leaders reminding us that progress must be grounded in compassion, justice, and dignity. These conversations go beyond tools and systems that ask bigger questions. How do we ensure technology serves humanity? How do we design economies that are fair, inclusive, and ready for the future? And how can values guide innovation towards a more just and sustainable world? This is a space to share insights, challenge assumptions, and collaborate on solutions of change. Welcome to these sessions presented by Catalyst Now.
So warm welcome, everyone. Please remember just to keep your video on if possible so that we can get to know you better and see your reaction. Share your name and organization, and perhaps you can share it in the chat as a check-in. And raise your hand if you have any questions or concerns, or put your questions in the chat. Most importantly, enjoy the session. And I know I see many familiar faces today. I'm not sure if any of you are not Catalyst members, but for others who will also join later, or for anyone who's watching the recording, please, I would love to invite those who are not members to join us. Catalyst is a dynamic and fast-growing global movement of social entrepreneurs who are transforming systems and driving systematic change to advance the achievement of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And we would love to have you on board. So do fill the membership form if you wish to join more than 6,000 innovators to collaborate and accelerate collective impact. And without further ado, I would like to pass it over to Chris Underhill to kick off the conversation. Chris, over to you.
Thank you so much, Lana, and thank you so much also for your support. Wonderful to have you with us. So a very warm welcome to everybody. We're delighted that you could join us today. And just to say that I specialize in the field of global mental health. I have a long experience in mental health delivery in low-income settings. And as Lana has already mentioned, I'm the Chief Executive of the Elders Council for Social Entrepreneurs and a professional mentor. But it's my job as the moderator to introduce our speakers and then to invite them to wow us. I happen to know they're going to wow us because I have done a preparatory talk with them a little earlier today. So we're all ready. Sonia Gill, welcome to the session today. She is a Berlin-based artist and architect whose work connects art, technology, and longevity. After decades working with sustainability and urban innovation, she moved from Rio to Europe, where she is exploring new creative horizons. Her art blends painting, digital media, and AI. Sonia's mission is to show how reinvention, creativity, and longer lives can shape a more purposeful future. So welcome, Sonia. We very much look forward to your presentation today.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. And Ricardo Neves. Now, it says here, Ricardo, that you are a 70-year-old Brazilian computer and electronics engineer. So I wouldn't have thought you were 70. You look about 50. But then there we are. That's life. You're a social entrepreneur and a business consultant. You're the author of 10 business books on innovation and systemic transformation. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, you relocated to Berlin, where you have since been working with life science researchers, entrepreneurs, companies, and investors dedicated to extending healthy lifespans. So together you have founded Lifelong, a boutique consulting firm, and then of course the 50+ chapter of Catalyst Now, which Lana mentioned earlier. And your aim is to mutually is to promote new visions of meaningful aging, and you have co-authored the book Unterweg, Living Longer, Thinking Differently. Unterweg is the German word for on the road or on the move, and it translates your approach for living in the second half of life as a new adventure, embracing lifelong learning and living with purpose and celebrating life. Celebrating life is a great way to segue onto welcoming you both to the session and to inviting you, Ricardo, to take a little time to introduce your ideas. Over to you.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with the moderation of Chris Underhill. And well, let's start with a little explanation about the name that we choose for the chapter that Sonia and I founded in Catalyst. 50 plus, it's something that we envision as, for translating for the public, for the people, that we think that we should consider the 50s the half of the adult life, the beginning of the second half of adult life. And why is that? Well, over the last years, I have been involved with the challenge of expand the life span. That means I have been together with life science research, investors, companies, and entrepreneurs who are engaged with, finding out secrets, especially in terms of biology. It seems that there is something in our biology that explains the process of aging. So it happens with everyone, with every animal, and it's different from species. For instance, with the tortoise, they live something like 200 years, but they don't get old. They just get older when they are going to die in the last months of their lives. So the scientists are trying to do, in such a way that they can understand what is in our biology, explaining how we get older and decelerate or to slow down the process. Basically, there are three keywords when you try to understand what is happening in terms of this community, this ecosystem of researchers, entrepreneurs, investors, what they are trying to do. The first one, it's the biomarkers. So biomarkers are something that we can learn in our bodies in such a way that we can predict some kind of sickness that we are going to have, some degeneration. So if we manage to find out with biomarkers that we are going to have a kind of disease in, let's say, 1, 2, 5, 10 years ahead, so we can prepare ourselves to slow down the process and to postpone or perhaps to avoid having this kind of disease of degeneration. The second thing, very important, that the scientists are doing is to find out anti-drugs, anti-aging drugs. So somehow there are some special drugs, like, and the first one, which was scientifically proved, was rapamycin. So rapamycin, it's nowadays understood as a drug that can slow down the aging process. And other are coming. The third thing that it's important to understand when you are thinking about this ecosystem engaged in expand the lifespan is longevity clinics. The longevity clinics are special places where people go and they try to diminish their biological age. So we could say that we have a chronological age, we have attitudinal or psychosocial age. For instance, we can have a guy of 80, 90 years old with attitudinal age of 70 years old, like me, for instance. And then we have the biological age. So the biological age, it's something that your biomarkers can detect and explain. And in longevity clinics, they try to combine the biomarkers and the protocols, the anti-aging drugs and procedures in such a way that they can diminish the biological age. Somehow, the scientists, the life scientists, the researcher, they are nowadays thinking that we can have a moonshot in terms of longevity. What they are doing is to promise that in the next 10 years, we can have a quantum leap of longevity. So what they are doing is to promise that perhaps we can have 100 years as the new normal for the human life. And even they are promising that we are going to get there 120 years. So this is what the scientists are promising. When we talk about this, we talk about a moonshot of longevity. It's a little bit similar of what happened with the Apollo project, Manhattan project, the Genoma projects, and things like that. So if it happens, it's going to have a tremendous change in our life. So, Lana, I would like to ask you to present the 2 slides. I just have 2 slides. And it will make it easier for us to understand what we are entering on. The first one, it combines what we can have nowadays. You see, the pattern is that when we are in the 60s, we start having serial sickness, and then we can have the final, the morbidity period, which means that we are going to die. So the scientists are promising that nowadays, instead of 80 years as the lifespan, that we can have 100 years. And then we can compress the period of a serial the period where we have a serial sickness. And that's a paradigm shift of the health, public health, medicine. Medicine, it's nowadays, until now, focusing on curing. And with the biomarkers, scientists are saying biomarkers and anti-aging drugs. The scientists are saying that we can both have a longer lifespan and a health lifespan. So perhaps we can have something like that in 10 or 20 years. Lana, please, the next slide and the last one. So it's a little bit provocative to see that we created retirement. Retirement is an institution which was created here in Germany in 1889 by Otto von Bismarck, the Chancellor. And since that, somehow, we believe that the 60s is the time to slow down. It's because actually, when it was created, the retirement was created, we envisioned retirement as a protection for the vulnerable elderly in the last chapter of their lives. And since the creation of the retirement institution, the life expectancy increased to 40 years, 4 decades. And so there is something that it's not in synchronicity with this change. The idea that the retirement institution should give us some protection in the last chapter of our life, somehow it's nice, is now they like, okay, we are going to have a more 30, 40 years ahead, and we are going to do nothing. It's holiday. So this is something like in my generation, I am a baby boomer, we are starting to realize that if you retire in your 60s, you are probably going to have 20, 30 years ahead of you. So perhaps in 10 or 20 years, we are going to have to change the retirement for a new kind, a new vision of retirement, which this is a process going on here, just happening here in Germany. So instead of talking about retirement, now we are going to talk about active retirement. That means that when you are in your 60s, you are going to continue somehow to contribute, to actively contributing to society and also for yourself, to your own development. So perhaps the second half of this picture here, it's what we are going to see happening in the next years ahead of us. And that's it. So I'll give you back the ball. I'll pass the torch to you.
Thank you.
Chris, thank you very much.
Your exposition is here. If you can clear the screen, that would be helpful, Lana. Just so we can come back. There we go. Thank you, Lana. And thank you, Ricardo, for that very important exposition. I mean, there's no question about it. You are a visionary, and you are thinking about this in a way which I think is very interesting for the social entrepreneur community, especially. And there are obviously opportunities which present themselves. I was going to suggest that I ask you a question, but I think I'll probably come to Sonia now, if I may, Ricardo, and just suggest that we invite Sonia to make her presentation now, and then we'll come back to the main conversation and invite Mel, Ahmed, Arine, Bill, and we have another person here. Let's have a quick look. Yes, and Roberta, there we are. Invite one of them to speak. So just to let the audience know that I'll be inviting you to speak and to make your contribution after we have heard from Sonia. Sonia, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Chris. I am Ricardo's partner in Lifelong and 50 Plus chapter, and we have also written a book together on this theme, new longevity. But I am also an artist. I graduated in architecture, and I've been working as an artist. I worked as a digital artist, and we moved from Rio de Janeiro to Europe in our 60s. And so we are experiencing all the things we have been talking about in the book that we wrote about the new longevity. So I've been confronting myself with this second half of life, experiencing lots of new things in art. I have last year, in the beginning of last year, I decided to experiment with artificial intelligence. So I've been working with artificial intelligence and art. And when Ricardo and I talked about the Catalyzing Change Week, about what we would propose, I, I gave the idea that we could talk about longevity and artificial intelligence, because I believe these two things, they are very disruptive. Sorry, this is my cat, Bebel. She's also a 50 plus. She's 90 years old in human age. I had a talk with her, not to cry, but I don't think it worked. I think these things are very explosive. They're going to disrupt everything. And so I think it's something that we have to talk about. I think AI is something that can help us, but it's very something that is very new. It we when we cross our 60s, it's something that most people believe that they have problems with digital, they have problems with learning new things, and we have to keep curious. That's a way to. I believe that longevity, a good longevity, uh, can be when we keep curious, when we keep learning, when we take care of our bodies, our minds, it gives us a new quality of life. So I think that AI can help us in this if we keep curious, if we open ourselves to learn new things. But also, I believe that we have to be careful with the risks of something that we don't know exactly how is going to unfold. So that's why I suggested that we should open a discussion about this longevity and AI, because I believe that it can help a lot uh, the lifelong learning process. It can be a great assistant, but it is a tool. And I think tools are something that are useful, but can be dangerous. It depends on the way you use them. So the Nobel Prize of 2024 on physics, the British Canadian Geoffrey Hinton, he got the Nobel Prize for the foundational discoveries and that enable the machine learning with artificial intelligence. But he has been alerting that about the dangers and risks of AI. Not only about replacing jobs, things that we have to worry and think about, but we have all sorts of problems like fake videos, cyber attacks. It seems that in the last year, the phishing attacks grew 12%. And so machine learning, it's something that the AI is machine learning. So what he says, besides alerting about the dangers, is that it's like a child that you have to help grow. So you have to teach good behavior. You have to give good examples. It's so I think that although it's controversial, that we, the matures, I am 64, we have the experience, we have more maturity, we can help. I think not we should not only criticize but also embrace it and jump in and help to create these new behaviors and to feed the machine with good projects, with ethical projects. And so that's what I decided to do as an artist. And then that's what I think uh, we should do, not only be afraid of the dangers, but help shape it. Like I have been researching projects that are being done in the field of art. For example, there is a Brooklyn artist called Stephanie Jenkins. She is a transdisciplinary artist, and she's working in the intersection of art, AI, race, and gender. And she has an interesting project that says, that's called If We Don't, Who Will? So that's what I think we should do. Because if we don't, I'm afraid other not so ethical, not so the people with not so good project will take over. So as the catalyst now is catalyzes projects for systems change, I think we're in the verge of a big change, and we should not waste the time. We should try to help and shape not only the new longevity, but new longevity and artificial intelligence. I think they can together help us to have not only more years ahead, but I think the question is we need better quality of life in the years ahead, personally and for all of us as humans. Inclusiveness, equality. So I think this is artificial intelligence is both a risk and an opportunity, because as a tool, all tools have risk, dangers, but also they have opportunities.
Absolutely.
If we can use it well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sonia, very much for that presentation. Absolutely. Lana, am I right in thinking we have about 15 minutes left? Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, that's good. So here we have a very fascinating proposition. So it's an ambitious proposition. It's looking at the very big. It's a proposition with with big Wellington boots, which I think we need to think through. On the one hand, we have the whole idea of the 100-year life, as it were, the 100-year life, the whole question of science being able to and being able to take us to that period, so long as we follow it carefully and clearly. And then here we have the other proposition, which is that AI is bound to be playing a part in that, obviously, and also very significantly and importantly, that AI science, in a sense, has its risks as well as its benefits, and actually that must be true for all forms of science as well as everything else. We have a few minutes, and I wondered whether members of the audience would like to chip in we have a very interesting audience here. Mel, did you want to jump in just to get the conversation started?
Oh, sure. Thank you very much, Chris. And thank you both very much for your presentations, really stimulating and thoughtful, and it's certainly potentially transformational going forward. I'm interested, though, in one aspect that maybe Chris could come in as well, just in the psychological side of this. You know, if I think back to my own mother and father and their generation, they suddenly became old because they were hitting these retirement ages, and then they were old. So they started behaving as if they were old. And whereas our generation, or my generation, and I'm quite happy now to tell you I'm 72, I won't ever think like that. I think always I'm young, that I have the physical and mental capacity to do things, to be entrepreneurial still, to drive forward. And I suspect with that type of attitude, one lives longer as a result. And I think you were saying that, Sonia, if I was reading it correctly. It's about kind of being, you know, exploring all the time, coming up with new ideas, learning things, and so on. And I think coupled with AI, that might be important. But it is about changing the culture of people's way of thinking, in my view. And that's the question I have. How much of this is the psychological part of saying, well, I don't care what age I am, but I'm not old, if you follow me. So it's not like, as I was getting older, for example, I never would admit I was my age. I'm not 60, whatever. But now I've kind of got past that. I just proudly say, no, I'm 72. That's how old I am. Okay. And it's a change in attitude, if you like.
Absolutely. Well, anyone who's thinking of sending me a birthday card, my birthday is on the 22nd of November. And and on that day, I'll be 77. And I'm, in that sense, in my attitude, I am both young and beautiful, actually. I wanted to come, Ricardo, to you to maybe you could take Mel's point and his question, the psychological aspect of this whole question of going from, as it were, 50, which is then the halfway point, up to, let's say, just for the argument's sake, 100. And what about the psychology of it? How do you come to
yes, this is a point that I raise, you know, because I'm dealing with scientists who are mostly an investor who are concerned with the biological age. So the holy grail, they think, it's how we can decrease the biological age. And what I'm telling them is the attitudinal, the psychological age. It's so important as the biology. I mean, when I was reaching the 60s, I realized a change of attitude in many of my peers, the baby boomers. Lots of them were, you know, overnight becoming old people because of retirement. So their change of mind, the posture, their attitude, overnight they become old people. And especially the men, they were ashamed. They do not admit that, but they were ashamed of being retired. I mean, they felt themselves like, okay, I'm at the end of the road. I'm useless. And lots of them became reclusive. We couldn't have reached them out. We couldn't have a deep conversation. They avoid contact. So biological age, chronological age, and attitudinal age. I mean, attitudinal age, Sonia was telling, it's like, you know, we baby boomers, we watch the movie, how is the name of the nanny, Sonia? Mary Poppins. And so Mary Poppins, there is a scene of the movie that everyone was, wow, Mary Poppins is taking so many things out of the bag. But what comes before that, it's how she managed to put all those things inside the bag. So attitudinal age is something like that. I mean, when people realize that you are young It's not because your biological age. I will argue about that. It's because your attitudinal age. My mother is 90 years old, and she's still, you know, with the smartphones, taking care of the finances and talking to us, their children, that we do not understand anything about finance. And she is, you know, playing with the chat GPT, and she said, well, this chat GPT is a fine guy. He's very sensible. So I think the real secret of life, it's not the biological age nor the chronological. It's the attitudinal age. It doesn't matter if we're going to live 100, 200 years. The most important thing is the mental health that allow us, you know, to have a young attitudinal age.
Exactly. Thank you, Ricardo. I'm sure your mother is still telling you off today, just like she was telling you off all those years ago. That's great. Now, let me just check whether Bill Green, do you want to come in and have a contribution to this conversation? Nice to see you, by the way.
Thank you, Chris. Nice to see you as well. It's early here in California. A couple of thoughts. First, Mel, I really appreciate your bringing up the attitudinal part of this. I do have to say that I am 71 years old. Sometimes I do things that I think I can do because I have a 30-year-old attitude. But getting on a skateboard or jumping off a diving board and so forth could shorten my lifespan if I'm not careful with my attitude. So two thoughts. One, Ricardo, if you've not connected with the Stanford Center on Longevity, you should. They're doing a lot of research broadly on getting old, and you could probably make a contribution there. And second, I have a question. I am all for living a longer, richer life and capitalizing on AI. I also have a 17-year-old and 22-year-old children and some older children as well, who are, if we are living longer, are we crowding out their opportunities? And second, related to that, there's a question of privilege that I wonder and worry about. And are the people who have the opportunity to grow older already privileged? And will the opportunity to grow older and have a rich older experience be broadly accessible? And is that a consideration? So there's a lot of aspects around growing older and the equity of growing older, crowding out opportunities for others that I think also probably needs to be considered and addressed.
Absolutely. I think that's a very interesting point. So the whole question of how we inevitably compete for resources, and so that we don't make this a zero-sum game. In other words, one person's gain is another person's loss. Sonia, a very quick remark from you. We are running out of time, so I just wanted you to make a quick response to the comment that Bill had brought.
Yes,
Thank you, Bill.
I think inequality is one of our greatest problem, and it encompasses everything. So in an unfair world like we live, when we think about longevity, it's for privilege first. AI, the access to AI is for privilege first. But I think because we are living on these very disruptive times, maybe it's an opportunity. It's difficult to be more equal, to try and be more equal. But at the same time, I think of an example in Brazil. We're from Brazil. Technology has helped. We couldn't believe that when the personal computer started, when the smartphone started, that it would trickle down. And in Brazil today, when you have everybody has a smartphone. This has helped because there's a lot of informality. So the poor people can get the jobs, they can get more work, they can get more connected. I used to work as an architect, and when I had to contact my workers in the favela, I had to do it by a public phone, and the drug dealers shoot it, and I couldn't connect. So I think there is hope that technology, in a way, can trickle down, and that we can have a more equal, more opportunities for everybody. And there is hope that, of course, these biomarkers, these technologies, they go first for the privileged, but there is hope that you can trickle down, because we can hope. And I think Catalyst now is about this. It's about getting together and finding solutions for the problems we have, and uniting new ideas and new projects.
Thank you.
It's a great
Sonia.
challenge.
Let me bring you there. And you have brought us to the end of our session, and you have used that H word, hope. It is absolutely right that without hope, we are certainly not going to be able to explore these important and highly relevant topics. I think the courage that you have both shown to bring these important topics to our insight and to our own understanding is really helpful, very helpful indeed. You are basically bringing to us, yes, on the one hand, just to encapsulate it in quotation marks, the concept of the 100-year life. And on the other hand, you're saying to us that obviously the psychological and attitudinal approach to this is going to be really important, and we have to be able to understand that. And also the question of what in the old days we probably would have called poverty, international development, poverty, and so on. In other words, the question of the equity of a life long lived has also got to have the question of resources behind it. Otherwise, you're basically asking people to have a long life without much equity. And that, of course, is not what you're suggesting. And so the kind of additional qualities that we require, which will include AI, are obviously really important in that context. Sonia and Ricardo, really, it only rests really for me to say thank you so much for bringing this topic to our attention today. It's really important that you did, and I feel very honored to have been your moderator. Lana, thank you so much for holding the floor for us. And Louis, I see you are there as well, and that's nice that you could join us, and we really appreciate your support. And thank you so much for the others who came, Arine, Roberta, Ahmed, Bill, and Mel. We really appreciate your being with us today. A warm thanks, and let's see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Sonia.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too.